Imagine for a second that you have $40,000 in cash on the table in front of you. That's a huge amount of money. Imagine all the things you could do with it. That's a down payment on a house. That's a shiny new sports car, an amazing, probably month-long worldwide vacation. All these things you could do with $40,000. Now imagine the opposite of that. Take away the $40,000 and take away another $40,000 on top of that. You're now in $40,000 worth of credit card debt. That's where I was about 15 or so years ago. $40,000 in credit card debt. How I got there is a story for another day. Let's just say the bad decisions, even made with good intentions, are still bad decisions. One way or another, I was there, $40,000 in debt, and I saw no way out of it. It seemed like this huge mountain that I had to climb, and I couldn't figure out what the first step was. So I did what any red-blooded New Englander would do in these situations, right, John? I went to watch the Red Sox baseball games at the local sports bar and have a couple beers.
Yep.
And while I was there, I had been in there a few times. I kind of knew the bartender, Maggie. And I hear one of the regulars say, "Hey, Maggie, you're here on a Tuesday night. This is your night off. Why are you here?" And she said, "Well, I needed the extra $200. So I figured I'd pick up an extra shift." Lights went on. I said, $200 for one night shift? That's pretty amazing. And when she came over to take my order, I said, "Did I hear you say you were going to make $200 tonight?" And she said, "Yeah, it's kind of a slow night, but I should still make about $200. So the next day, I called 1-800-BARTEND. Does everybody remember that jingle? Mm-hmm. Jingles work because it had been years since I heard it, and I thought, where can I take bartending classes? 1-800-BARTEND. So I called them. The class was going to be $500. $500. Now I'm being fiscally responsible $40,000 later, right? I didn't want to spend the $500. But I had a conversation with myself. I said, "Self, we're going to do this. We're going to spend the $500. We're going to take the class. And we're going to at least bartend long enough to make the $500 back. I want to at least break even on this adventure." But then I start thinking, bartending class, second job, what's my day job going to say? What if I don't like it? What if I can't do it? All these things, all these questions start swirling around in my head. I was trying to solve the whole problem all at once. But a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. All I had to do was figure out what the next step was. And the next step was take the class. So I took the step, and I took the class. 2 weeks later, I learned about 120 different drinks. Most of them I never used and have long since been forgotten. But it gave me the confidence to call and apply for that first job bartending. I felt like I knew what I was doing. And on the last day of the class, I found out that Don Shula's Steakhouse was looking for a bartender. That night I went home and I applied online. I didn't waste any time. I figured there was probably 20 other people graduating in that class. I wanted to be the first one to apply. The next day they called and said, "Come on in, we want to talk to you." Again, all the thoughts start swirling around my head. What if I get the job? But then what do I do next? What do I do next? Take the next step. Go to the interview. I took the step. The interview, when I got there, I was actually pleasantly surprised. The bartender that was behind the bar that day was named Chuck. And he was about my age, which was the ripe old age of about 35 at the time. And so my fear of being too old to bartend and that they were going to be hiring some young blonde thing to be behind the bar in a steakhouse, that fear went away. I talked to him for a little bit, gained a little bit of confidence, and then I met the assistant manager. 19-year-old, cute little blonde. "You should be behind the bar. I should be the assistant manager." I know that's probably a sexist thing to say. But anyways, 20 minutes into the conversation, I felt like I was doing well. I felt like I convinced her that I could do the job, even though I wasn't 100% convinced myself. On the way home, she calls and said, "We want you to start Monday." Great, I got the job. Oh crap, I got the job. Now I have to figure out what are the next steps. My day job doesn't know I'm going to work a second job. What if I can't do it? What hours am I going to work? What days of the week? How often are they going to call me? Hold on, take the next step, one step. Show up on Monday. And I did. And I had a few nights of training, and I was bartending. Lo and behold, I was bartending. Wasn't making much money yet, but that came over time. I started picking up extra shifts, staying and closing, letting the other bartenders go home early, and I was making between $200 and $400 a night. Every night I'd come home, I'd stuff that money in my sock drawer. When I had $1,000, I'd take it down to the bank, put it in my checking account, write a check immediately to the credit card. I had about 10 cards at that point, shuffling money back and forth, paid off one at a time. Made minimum payments on all the rest, and the rest went on one card. When that one was paid off, went through the shredder. There was no feeling in the world like that card going through the shredder once it was completely paid off. One by one, step by step, I paid off $40,000 worth of credit card debt in about a year and a half bartending.
Wow.
I was working a lot of hours. I was working 40 plus hours at my part-time job, but it was worth it. I got it paid off. My recommendation to anyone who has a huge insurmountable obstacle in their path, don't think about the whole thing. Don't try to process all of it at once. Think about the next step that you have to do, and then take that next step. Step by step, the journey of 1,000 miles, one step at a time. Mr. Toastmaster.